Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Susan Dunkley, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the chair of the board for the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Chamber of Commerce. It is my pleasure to officially welcome you all to this important and timely debate. We are grateful to be gathered here this evening at the beautiful Lakefield College School, and we thank them sincerely for hosting us. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that the land we are on here at Lakefield College School is the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, which includes Curve Lake First Nation, Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. Today we gather near the shores of Kawarthas Lake, an Ojibwe word meaning lake of many rapids. Kawarthas is one of the many lakes in the Kawarthas, a name rooted in the meaning land of reflections and shining waters. These waters have always been and continue to be the lifeblood of the land and its people. We recognize and honor the Williams Treaty's First Nations as the original stewards of these lands and waters, guardians of their health, integrity, and spirit. Their role is not a thing of the past, but an enduring responsibility that continues today. This is also a time for us to reflect on our presence here, on the stories and histories that shape this land, and on our relationships with one another. The land of reflections calls on us to listen deeply, not only to the land, but to each other. In honoring this territory, we commit to listening with care, to learning from Indigenous voices and elders, and to building relationships rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and truth. Respect for the land, for those who came before us, and for each other is at the heart of reconciliation and of building a community. By fostering a culture of listening, reflection, and respect, we take meaningful steps towards an inclusive and thoughtful future. I would ask everyone to stand, and we will sing O Canada. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you. I don't think we sing that enough. I am delighted to be welcoming you to this evening's debate on behalf of the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Chamber of Commerce, along with our valued event partners, the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Home Builders Association, the Central Lakes Association of Realtors, and the Peterborough and District Construction Association. We are proud to collaborate with these dedicated organizations who share a commitment to building strong, informed, and engaged communities. Together, we are proud to support this opportunity for meaningful dialogue, thoughtful discussion, and engaged community participation. This debate provides a platform for us to listen, reflect, and consider the issues that matter most to our region. And your presence here tonight speaks to the strength of our local democracy and the commitment we all share to shaping a vibrant future for Peterborough and the Kawarthas. I would now like to call up Rob Hatfield, Chair of the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Home Builders Association.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not used to using mics. I have a pretty big booming voice on a good day, so bear with me on this one. Thank you, Susan. Tonight, we're going to get to the debate very shortly. However, I want to go over some of the rules on how this is going to work tonight, okay? We prepared some questions. as organizers, but we also want to hear from you guys. To make sure that we're covering a wide range of business-related topics, we're going to take written questions. If you have a question, raise your hand, and two of our ladies, Savannah and Tricia, will come find you and give you a blank card. And a pen as well. We have volunteers tonight who will go through the questions to combine similar questions that are on the same topic to help us keep the conversation moving. Candidates will have 2 minutes for opening and closing statements. Our timekeeper, Emerson, right here, will keep them to 1 minute and 30 seconds for their answers with 30 seconds for rebuttal. We are hoping to generate some conversations between the candidates as well. Our monitor will cut off rebuttals when it's time to move on to the next topic. Our debate will only feature candidates representing parties currently with a seat in Parliament, but we are giving the other two candidates 2 minutes to introduce themselves. So, our first candidate tonight is Jamie Lee McMaster.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. While I was not born and raised in Peterborough, I grew up in Toronto and spent the last 10 years in Belleville before moving to Peterborough with my husband in 2024, who grew up in Kawarthas Lakes. I was a sales rep at PepsiCo for the last several years before I went full-time with my husband in his small business. Before Pepsi, I was in college to become a social worker, and I withdrew in my final year due to the restrictions imposed during the pandemic. My interest in politics was stemmed from my devotion to our fundamental rights. And as a young working professional, I also feel the pressure of the cost of living, housing crisis, and a lack of upward mobility. Many Canadians know that we need a change, and the PPC for me is that change. While I know the PPC's policies can be controversial, they stem from 4 basic principles that are essential in a free and democratic society: freedom, fairness, responsibility, and respect. We as individuals have inalienable rights and freedoms that must not be violated. Too often, our rights are limited, suspended, or infringed upon for ideological reasons. Every individual has the right to equal protection and benefit under the law as per Section 15(1) of our Charter. However, the Charter does not require the government to always treat people in the same way, which is a contradiction in and of itself. Each individual is tasked with taking responsibility for oneself and one's family, while the federal government has a responsibility to safeguard its sovereignty and the economy. When the government does not uphold their end of the bargain, the effects are devastating, as many of us are experiencing today. Differences of opinion are inevitable in a country of 39 million people. However, while we may have overlap or polarization in our policies and beliefs, these ideas must be discussed respectfully in a free and democratic society. I hope I get the chance to elaborate on this in the future. But in the meantime, I wish the other candidates good luck in their debate.
Thank you, Jamie. Our next candidate is Matthew Grove.
Good evening, I'm Matthew Grove. I'm also not a local, but I grew up in Ontario, Canada, all of my life. I studied geography and graduated from Fleming at Lindsay with a degree in cartographic, as a cartographic specialist. So as a follower of, I'm a candidate for the Christian Heritage Party of Canada. And as a follower of Christ, one of the reasons I'm running is to expose the corruption of currency debasement, which has not gotten much light in politics, which devalues everyone's money and makes life unaffordable. But more importantly, I'm running for the equal justice and equal protection of preborn children who are murdered in their mother's womb on the altar of convenience. And I am pleading with you this day not to ignore justice for the fatherless. For God will not keep our land glorious and free if we continue to spill the blood of his image bearers. So I'm standing this day to be a voice for them. And if you will stand with me also, vote CHP on Election Day. Thank you.
Matthew. Next, I'd like to call up Rebecca Shulamat. She is the Executive Officer of the PKHBA.
And I'm the chair of the Chamber's Advocacy Committee. So thank you all for coming out tonight. We have a great attendance. We are going to jump into the debate. I just want to remind everyone to please turn your cell phones off. Of course, we're in a beautiful chapel. The sound is going to really carry if we hear that ringing. So tonight we've got Emma Harrison with the Liberal Party of Canada, Michelle Ferreri with the Conservative Party of Canada, Heather Ray with the New Democratic Party, and Jasmine Rain with the Green Party of Canada. Joel is going to come up and get everyone started and give you time for your intros.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Wow, full house here today. That's really encouraging to see this many people this interested in this election. No pressure, everybody. So I'm Joel Weeb. I'm the Vice President, Government Relations and Operations at the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to be your moderator tonight. So to get this started, we're going to go in order, and just so everybody knows, this was a random order that we put everybody in. We drew names out of a hat. We're going to have to share some microphones here tonight, so we're going to test some sharing abilities, and we're going to go into our opening statements. So, sorry, you've got to, you can just grab it out of there if you want, or you can use the stand, whatever's comfortable. Sure. So, so we're going to do 2 minutes for opening statements, and Emma, you're going to get us started.
Hello, I'm Emma Harrison. Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry.
No, you might need to pick it up.
Hello, I'm Emma Harrison. I am the... Okay, I'm just going to pick...
Yeah.
Sorry. No, that's okay. Oh, you want to stand up too. My apologies. Sorry. Hello, I'm Emma Harrison. I am your Liberal candidate for the riding of Peterborough. Thank you so much for inviting me and for everyone to take this time out of their evening to be here tonight. I am a third-generation farmer. I am a mother and a wife of a Peterborough County paramedic. I was born and raised about 12 minutes north of here on my family's farm. My father was a heavy equipment mechanic, a self-taught heavy equipment mechanic and a farmer. My mother worked at the medical center in Peterborough as an x-ray tech. I left this out, most important part. I have 3 beautiful young children that I'm very, very proud to have. I bought the farm with my husband in 2021 in the hopes and continued hopes of one day running a farm where we both can profit and be farmers together. In 2010, my father passed away of pancreatic cancer, so the farm sat and was used for hay and for cash crops until 2021. With the money we had, we chose to use a no-till drill and seed down our pastures, and we were able to afford to buy 3 bred cattle. In the first 24 hours of having those cattle, they escaped. And so if anyone here is a farmer, you might be able to relate. That's not unusual. So for 3 days, our cattle traipsed the neighborhoods, trampling our very considerate and kind neighbors' lawns, and they were shortly returned 3 days later, just in time for our first calf to be born. Her name is Millie, named after my grandmother, Mildred. I'm here tonight, and I'm sure you're here as well, because we do understand the critical nature of this election. I believe the U.S. has a critical misunderstanding of the quiet patriotism that we all feel. We have a unique ability to come together from coast to coast. We have faced many adversity before, and we will come together again, and we will rise up better for it. Thank you very much. I'm going to run out of time, so I just want to thank you.
Hello, test.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Ferreri. I'm your Conservative candidate for Peterborough, and I'm asking for your vote on April 28th. Clearly, a lot of you are looking for hope, and a lot of you are looking for change. I've been fighting for you since 2021 when I was elected as your Member of Parliament in Ottawa. What have I been doing in Ottawa? Well, I fought for timely access to treatment, recovery, and housing when the Liberals continued to fund deadly drugs. I fought for victims of crime to ensure their rights come before the rights of criminals. And I grilled the Justice Minister on how he could possibly defend his catch and release program, Bill C-75, that allowed innocent women like Selena Taylor of Curve Lake First Nation to be murdered by a man who was out on bail. I fought for affordability and called out the crippling impact of the carbon tax and stood up for farmers like Brian Hawes while food banks hit the highest usage in history. I fought for the affordable housing and forced the housing minister to admit that despite spending $4.5 billion, homelessness has increased 100%. I recently knocked on a young mom's door. She said to me, "Michelle, I never really got involved in politics until now. My husband and I work 50 hours a week. We do everything. And our kids are being raised by society, and they're not doing great. I have mothers cry on the porch when I knock on their door. But this one mom said this to me, and it really stuck. I don't mind working for what I have, but I'd like to have what I work for. Canadians are paying 47% of their income to tax and getting nothing in return. On April 28th, I ask you to vote for me because we have to put Canada and Peterborough first for a change, and we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Michelle. Heather.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Wonderful. My name is Heather Ray. I'm born and raised in Warsaw, Ontario, just outside of Peterborough city limits, on a beef cattle farm. So I'm also a farmer, a fifth generation. And when I was 7, I started my own business. It was a lemonade stand. It was on the side of the road. And you know what? I did really good. I had no overhead, sold to the neighbors, made a killing, learned a lot, gave up, tried again when I was 14, started another business. Did great, made a lot of money. It was a really niche market, showing cattle. I don't know if you know that, how to do that, but not a lot of us do that. So made a killing, learned a lot, kept going. It was time for university. I had a great plan that I was going to own a business with goat at my father's farm, and I was going to go to school at Trent. So I did the business plan, because that's what my brain does. And when I did that business plan, the numbers didn't number. And let's just say I didn't go to Trent, and I ended up studying at University of Waterloo. But I still put myself through school, working hard. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, but I'm a worker with my hands. And so I worked my way through school to get my degree in resource management. And then I put myself through school again at Laurier for a master's in international public policy. And then I kept going. And I'm still an entrepreneur at heart and a worker by hand. And today I have a balanced business plan as I grow an agribusiness in Warsaw, Ontario. And I grow things. That's what I do. I grow community, I grow food, I grow businesses, I grow solutions. And at this debate tonight, you're going to hear me say two things, and I hope you bring these to heart. You're going to hear me prove to you that I'm the one with the knowledge and the experience to be your representative in Ottawa. And I'm going to prove to you, too, that you have more of a left heart than you think. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Jasmine.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Is that too loud? Okay. My name is Jasmine Rain. I was born in Toronto, and then I came to Fleming College here in Peterborough in 2008, and I did a law and justice degree, decided that wasn't for me, and went back to Toronto, where I worked every job that I could get. I was a jewelry technician, a watch technician, a bartender, a landscaper, a general laborer. I did everything that seemed interesting, and I learned so many things. But one of the biggest things that I learned is that I am so enraged by how things are going, and I'm so deeply concerned. I care so much about our communities. So I went back to school. I went to Trent. I put myself through school. I did an undergraduate degree in political studies with a focus in policy and economy. Then I did a master's degree at Wilfrid Laurier, which was wonderful. I love Laurier. Then I came back to Trent, and now I'm completing my doctorate. I study queer and transgender aging with a clinical focus. I'm training to be a gerontologist. I'm also involved in student leadership and government. I'm an artist in Peterborough. I'm very, very involved in a number of communities. And I ask my students all the time, what do you stand for? And as I ask them, what do you stand for, and I watch them grapple with this very tough question, I have to be able to answer that myself. And the follow-up to that is, what are you going to do about it? So what I'm going to do about it is stand here tonight and talk to you folks about radical tax reform, big policy change, and hope for the future. And I guess I'm also hoping that everybody here will ask themselves, what do I stand for, and what am I going to do about it? Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. So now we're going to get into our opening round of questions, and the way this will work, so we'll just sort of keep moving down the order. So Michelle, you'll answer this next question first, get some feedback. And then the next question, Heather will start, and so on. And we'll get through each of you, and then we'll get into any rebuttals. We do want to encourage constructive conversation here, so just raise your hand or get my attention that you want to say something. You've got 30 seconds at that point. And so we've got a minute 30 for your answers to the questions. Emerson up front is going to keep you on time. He's going to flash the yellow card when you get 15 seconds left, the red when your time is up, and I'd ask when it goes to the red, finish up that thought that's in your head, that last sentence, and and then we'll move on. And then on the rebuttals, there's no yellow because it's only 30 seconds. So we're going to start with questions from our partners here tonight. So the first question comes from the Peterborough and the Kawarthas Home Builders Association. And it is, new home construction has stalled in Canada because of rising costs and increasing red tape. The federal government controls the GST on housing and mortgage rules. How will your government reduce the cost of building new housing? Michelle, you're up first.
Thank you so much. This is a great question. So the Conservatives have been very strong in this position. Obviously, housing starts are down. Housing prices have doubled since 2015. This is a significant issue for people and young people, as I look up in the balcony, who can't afford a home. Yeah, they're waving to me. We'll get you a house, I promise. We're going to cut the GST on new homes, so that's a huge one. But the big thing is, for a lot of developers, the development fees are significantly high. They're 50% higher here in Peterborough. That's a significant problem. So we need to get shovels ready in the ground. We need to speed up the permitting process, and we need to incentivize home builders to actually build homes. Right now, they're losing money, so why would they continue to build that? And then we need to invest in our trades. So we have a great trade policy to train 350,000 trades workers. We're going to keep the grant that the Liberals are getting rid of at the end of March so that we can have more tradespeople to get these houses built. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And I'll add too, anytime you want me to repeat a question, just let me know and I'll repeat it. Heather.
I'm a renter. I've never purchased because I've never been able to. I get one step to it, and then the housing prices go up, and then I have to work it all over again to save that amount of money that I need for that down payment. And that's the treadmill that I'll be on, unless we do something about it. And I think we all want that same thing. We all want people to be able to have a roof over their head, to have a home. We just have different ways of doing that. And with the NDP, we want to build homes. We want to have a Canadian-built plan where you will be able to have a home built with steel, built with Canadian materials, support our Canadian resources, support building homes, and support giving new home buyers a discount on their mortgages so that we have low-rate mortgages for new home buyers. These are things that the NDP want to bring. We're on the same page. We're on the same team. Help me make it happen.
Thank you. Jasmine.
Excellent, thank you very much. Yeah, so good question. Also a renter, very stressful and kind of annoying. I'm 35 years old and I'm nowhere near to purchasing a home despite having worked 60 hours a week since I was 17 years old. So the Green Party is going to implement a national program to build affordable homes. They are also going to be shoring up corporate accountability to close tax loopholes so that they can't drive up prices in the market. There's also labor shortages that need to be addressed, and there's a myriad of different reasons people say there are labor shortages, from classism, folks going to university instead of going into the trades. And then we have things like the apprenticeship incentive grant for women, which was terminated in 2023, which was doing very, very well and could be reinstated to great effect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a really important question. We are facing this problem at critical levels in our community and across Canada. Under Prime Minister Mark Carney and the Liberals' plan, we will create the Build Canada Homes plan. We will be building homes at a rate as quickly as had happened after the Second World War, at the goal of hitting 500,000 homes a year. We will be cutting developmental fees, but with the caveat of that plan, which makes a lot of sense, is municipalities are struggling to be able to build homes, and we will be working with municipalities to make up the 50% reduction in fees for 5 years. We will be investing in people by creating more jobs within skilled trade and funding that education. And we will be creating incentives for apprenticeships with the people who are willing to take on those people and hire those people by funding that as well.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Yeah, Michelle. How do you do a rebuttal? You just get my attention. I say Michelle, and you launch into it.
So my question would be actually to Ms. Harrison. I mean, this is the same plan that came out in 2015. It's exact same wording, it's exact same policies. Mortgage delinquencies are up 50% higher than pre-pandemic. And housing now consumes 60% of a median income, up from 39% when Pierre Poilievre was housing minister. So why would anyone believe you that you're going to actually build the homes that you've been saying you were going to build since 2015 when nobody can afford a home, which we've heard across this table?
Yeah, Emma.
Thank you. I think we can all agree the last 6 months things have drastically changed. We also are under new leadership. Prime Minister Mark Carney is not Justin Trudeau. We have a plan. We will enact it with the experience and integrity of Prime Minister Mark Carney. I have no concerns that we will not get this done.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to our next question. So that means, Heather, you're going to be up first on this one. And we're going to continue along the same lines on housing. And this one comes from the Central Lakes Association of Realtors. And it has to do with the supply chain, which we're just seeing more stuff coming in on softwood lumber, which is going to impact housing. So how will your party create resilient housing material supply chains that can withstand tariffs and trade barriers? Heather, you're up.
Great. Thank you for the question. So what I want to say is that the NDP is committed to building 3 million homes by 2030. We're going to do that through a Build Canada plan that's going to keep resources in Canada being used to build our own homes. We are so reliant on trade with the United States that we've put ourselves in this position. No, the Liberals and the Conservatives put us in this position. We need to get out of it. Nothing is going to be the same again. Our relationship with the United States when it comes to trading is no longer going to be what it was. So we need to step forward into the change, make sure that we're keeping things in Canada as much as possible, make sure that we're reducing trade barriers between provinces, making sure that we're diversifying our international trade markets into new countries. This is especially going to be true when it comes not only to housing, but you'll see our policies are more like a web than a linear line. Because when that is a solution for housing, that's also the need and solution for other things, such as job creation. We need to create jobs for these houses to be built with, and we're going to do that by helping to train the underserved populations.
Thank you. All right, Jasmine.
Thank you very much. So currently what we have is the rip and dip model. Rip and ship. Wow, rip and dip, that's more fun. Rip and ship model where we rip up from the ground raw resources and send them elsewhere to be processed, and then we buy them back. That's obviously not sustainable, and when we're dealing with non-rational actors in a global market economy, we just can't keep doing that. So the Green Party is proposing to develop a national resource repository so that we are ripping and processing and storing against future needs so that we can purchasing them at market value so that we can continue to build without having to import our own resources from other countries.
Thanks so much. All right, Emma.
Under the new Liberal government, we will invest heavily in Canada. We will invest in trade corridors and prioritize purchasing of Canadian products, such as softwood lumber, and working with local community businesses to build the homes right here in our community.
Thanks so much. Michelle.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. How will your party create resilient housing material supply chains that can withstand tariffs and trade barriers?
Well, I think number one, we're not going to tax the thing that's going to build houses. And, I think we heard Mr. Carney, Prime Minister Carney, say that he would tax steel because people don't use steel. And I think, that's definitely needed. So we have a major issue with housing, and we have a major issue with our resources. We've never been this weak and vulnerable. So what can we do in terms of policy to do that? Well, the Conservatives, we're going to clear the red tape so we can let Peterborough build. So we have Canada First shovel-ready zones. This is one of our policies as well. Right now, it takes 17 years to get a permit. This is insane for a mine to develop, and we have all the resources that the world needs. We have an incredible ring of fire up in Northern Ontario as well, which is valued at $1 trillion. That is transformational for Canada. We have everything the world needs. And to my Green Party candidate's point, she's exactly correct. We are shipping our resources across only to buy them back. There's always a silver lining of a threat. And I think the silver lining in this is that we should have been doing this a long time ago. We should have never been put in this position of weakness and vulnerability. We have everything the world needs and wants, and we can develop it and build it. And, Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney said no to both Japan and Germany when they wanted our LNG. They said there was no business case for it. While Qatar, Malaysia, Australia, these countries are flourishing because they are producing their LNG, and we should be doing the exact same thing, and Conservatives will. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. All right, we'll move on to the next question then. And I'll just add again, so we have two people who can come and collect your questions if you've got some. Trisha and Savannah, do you guys want to? Oh, there's Savannah. She's already collecting some. And I know it's tight in here, so just have a little patience with us as we go and get those. So this next question comes from the Peterborough and District Construction Association. We're not going to talk about housing, but we are going to talk about construction. And Jasmine, you're going to be the first one to answer this one. What strategies will you implement to foster regional economic growth through increased investment in industrial, commercial, and institutional construction projects in Peterborough, ensuring the sector remains strong and resilient in the face of global trade issues and rising construction costs? It's a long question, so again, if anybody needs it repeated, I'm happy to repeat it.
Well, I'm glad to be going first then.
There we go.
Yeah, so the Green Party platform has not yet been released, and so this stance has not been fully articulated, but something that's interesting and very unique about the Green Party is the members of parliament when elected. Obviously, right now we only have 3 members of parliament sitting. Is that we don't actually have to vote along with party lines, so the members of parliament with the Green Party are really just here to serve you, right? It's not about us, it's not about the party line, it's about your needs, our needs as a community. So if elected, there would be some significant consultation with folks in Peterborough, with builders associations, to see what your needs are and what your desires are, and that's what would be championed in Ottawa.
Thanks so much. All right, I'll repeat the question, yep. What strategies will you implement to foster regional economic growth through increased investment in industrial, commercial, and institutional construction projects in Peterborough, ensuring the sector remains strong and resilient in the face of global trade issues and rising construction costs? So commercial, industrial, institutional projects, yeah.
Certainly. I think in a local context, what's really important too is the Kawarthas Trades and Technology Center that we have here in town. It's a 87,000 square foot world-class training facility, and we need to continue to put our interest in investing in young people who will be part of building. Sorry, I've lost track of I'm going to be totally honest. I've lost track of the question.
Yeah, sure, I can repeat it again. What strategies will you implement to foster regional economic growth through increased investment in industrial, commercial, and institutional construction projects in Peterborough, ensuring this? Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think one of the big struggles in our riding is employment lands. And we need to, as a federal government, support municipalities with funding and capital in order for them to have even access to the lands that they need to build those developments.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Michelle.
Thank you so much. This is a great question. So we have some great policies around this. The first one that I think is really going to jump out at folks is the Canada First Reinvestment Tax Cut. So this is capital gains are going to be waived for anybody who is going to reinvest in Canada. You can imagine how transformational this is. This is from an economist, Jack Mintz, and he says, the effect of the rollover provision is to reduce the hurdle rate for Canadian non-financial investments by 2.6%. Over a year and a half, this will generate $12.4 billion in capital investment. GDP will rise by $90 billion, and business hirings by 280,000 people, employees. So this is significant. We have the lowest GDP we've had in decades, and people are working more, and they're poor. They're poorer than they've ever been. Under the Liberals, we've seen 149,000 federal regulations. That's up 20,000 regulations under Justin Trudeau. So we have to cut the red tape. We are not incentivizing anybody to do business in this country or in this city when they make it so difficult. You have to go to this level of government, start your paperwork all over again every single time. So we are proposing a one-stop shop where it is a triage where you go to one stop, they finagle all levels of government for you to fast track your permits to get stuff built. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. And Heather.
You're going to hear me talk a lot about affordability, and you're going to wonder, what does it have to do with commercial and institutional development? Well, a lot. If we don't have money to spend in a complex, then it's not going to get built, because who's going to go there? That's not a smart business decision. We need to focus on making sure that everyday Canadians, the middle, have the ability to make money and to spend money in our communities and around our communities. When we do that, then we can start talking about policies that open up land. We can talk about the NDP's plan for a public land acquisition fund investing over $1 billion towards building homes. We can talk about working with cooperatives and working with not-for-profits to make sure that entities get built faster and easier. But we can't do that until we make sure that our community has an affordable way of life, that we can not have to choose between the food bank line and paying our hydro bill. Only then do we have money to go spend in a complex or in a business establishment that's being built. So I think you'll hear me say again that these issues have webs of solutions and that we're doing multiple things at once with our policies. And so I look forward to telling you more at the next question.
All right, thanks so much. I do have a note here. I think people at the back are having a little trouble hearing everything. So if it's not too uncomfortable, if you guys could stand up when you speak and just try and speak a little more loudly. We have a full house today, and while I can hear you well, not everybody can. I'm going to go into our next question here, and this one is from ourselves, the Chamber of Commerce. And Emma, you'll be up first. We trade $3.6 billion in goods with the US every day. What should the government of Canada be doing to minimize trade disruption with our largest trading partner?
As Canadians, we're obviously going through a really difficult time, and it will be some dark days ahead. But under the experience and integrity of Prime Minister Mark Carney, I believe that the work he's doing now is proving that he's already sitting down with provinces and breaking down interprovincial trade barriers, and I think that it's crucial to moving things forward because we struggle as 13 different economies and we need one. So I think that'll be a huge step for Canada to all work together collaboratively, because that's what we need in this time. We need to work with the federal government, the provincial government, and municipal governments, and we need to break down those interprovincial trade barriers.
Thank you. All right, Michelle.
Thank you. So there's a few things. Back to that capital gains piece is a big piece, but in the immediate term, Conservatives will initiate a Keep Canada Keep Canadians Work Fund. So this is obviously going to be imminent for people who may be at threat of having to lay people off. So this is to protect workers from tariffs. It is targeted, timely, and temporary. These are key things when you're dealing with people's money. And this is a loan to keep workers. We will also renegotiate CUSMA, strengthening our sovereignty and redirecting trade revenue to the military and tax cuts than government coffers. We're also offering no tax on Canadian-made cars. So there's lots of incentives happening within Canada to keep business in Canada. Long term though, again, I keep coming back to this, we have to develop our resources. You know, we should have never been put in this position of weakness and vulnerability with the United States. We have everything they need, we have everything the world needs. And the Liberals and NDP want to keep that energy in the ground. It's Bill C-69. This is an anti-pipeline bill. They've said they're going to keep it. If they keep it, we can't build the resources. We can't get the money to be independent and sovereign. We also need to develop in our Arctic as well, and we've announced that we will have the first ever Arctic base in Iqaluit. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, Heather.
The current tariffs are a sign of how Canada's deepening economic dependence on the US has left workers and families vulnerable. It is the Conservatives and Liberals that brought us here. That's what you know that old saying, when you put too many eggs in one basket? Well, it's kind of what happened. We put too many eggs in one basket, a basket we thought we could trust, but a basket that's no longer working out for us, and it's time to take our eggs home and put them in our own baskets. And that's what we're going to do. The NDP is going to do that with the Build Canadian, Buy Canadian plan. We're going to make sure that affordability is top of mind. We're going to put a cap on groceries so that those billionaires that are lining their pockets with profits while we're choosing between paying our groceries and paying our hydro bills, we're going to fight for you. We're going to be able to make sure that affordability is top of mind so that we can get through this crisis together. You know, it's causing a lot of division. It's causing a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. The job I just got, am I going to lose it? The truck I just bought, am I going to still be able to pay for it? The house I just got, not me, but people I talk to, are they going to be able to pay for it? When so many of us, 68% actually, in Canada, are not able to pay their mortgages right now. They're worried about paying their mortgage. That's a huge number. So we need to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe first.
All right. Jasmine.
What a good question. So the Green Party differs a little bit here in that the main thing that we are proposing here is to close loopholes for large corporations to reinvest $50 billion back into our economy. And let's just be real here, we're an embedded nation state, as is the United States, and you see when we have a non-rational actor, the Republican administration, I'm not going to call it the Trump administration because at this point, it's not helpful, is acting in ways that it's like they don't know that they're an embedded state. We cannot completely divest from a global economy. Yes, we can invest in our own resources, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to mine up in the Arctic. There are so many opportunities to make radical changes through important tax reform that would only impact everybody in this room in positive ways.
All right, thanks so much. I also had, we got a lot of questions submitted. I've got like more than 40 anyway. Yeah, people were really interested in this debate, as you can tell by the turnout here today. But I got a bunch submitted from students here at the school. So thanks to Lakefield College School for hosting us in this beautiful facility and appreciate that. So this question comes from a student, and first up will be Michelle. How do you plan to improve support for individuals with mental health issues in our constituency, especially considering the impact of the cost of living crisis on mental well-being?
That's a great question. Who asked that question?
I don't have a name
you
for
don't have
students.
a name. Well, thank you. Whoever asked that question, it's an amazing question. And I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm going to stand here. So the number one thing that's happened as a result of a failed economy is people are stressed out. That's what I said to you in the beginning of my opening remarks. You knock on the door, the mom's trying to take care of her kids. She can't do anything. She can't be a present mother. She can't be a present parent because she's so stressed out about whether or not she can pay her bills. Students working 2, 3, 4 jobs, they don't know if they're ever going to own a home. And it's an average time of 18 months to seek mental health help in Canada. We have a Blue Seal program because a lot of people don't even have access to a family doctor. Our Conservative Blue Seal program will ensure, right now you have 6 million people in Canada that do not have access to a family doctor. There are 60,000 nurses and doctors in this country that are certified doctors and nurses but can't practice because of the red tape. Much like a Red Seal program where you can be a journeyman across this country and a tradesperson, we have a Blue Seal program to ensure that engineers, doctors, and nurses can practice within 30 days of testing. Next, we would invest deeply in addiction treatment and recovery. We've seen a massive addiction crisis in this country. 50,000 Canadians have died in the last 10 years from an overdose. And that doesn't include the impact on the family members and the friends who had to watch their loved one die from the disease. And we're going to invest in treatment and recovery for 50,000 of those people and not fund drugs. You're our future, we're going to work on it. Thank you for the great question.
I want to start by thanking the students for this question. I think it's really important. And I want to start by saying mental health is health, and mental health does not mean addiction. And as someone who suffers from mental health issues, depression mostly, I don't accept that definition of myself. So I just want to say that to others in the room who may also not accept that definition of themselves. 68,000 people in Peterborough riding waiting for doctors. The NDP agree that we need to do better. We're going to do better by bringing in doctors and helping them reduce the red tape of coming in from other countries. We're going to help train those that are in underserved populations to help them reach their dreams. We're going to make mental health a priority by adding the drugs to the pharmacare program that the NDP forced the Liberals, pulled them to the fire to see happen. And I'm so glad to hear that Carney is going to keep those programs in existence. We want to expand them, not just keep them. We also want to see your health card be able to give you access to mental health treatments, counseling, medication. Why do we have to wait for a crisis before we get a counselor? It needs to be a regular, OHIP covered, health card covered treatment that we can get when we need it to be proactive.
So the Green Party wants to address the structural issues that are creating the conditions for precarity for mental illness, right, to exacerbate existing mental illness. We're going to fully fund Medicare because mental health is healthcare. You shouldn't have to pay out of pocket to see a therapist. And we're also going to strongly oppose the implementation of a two-tier healthcare system. Though, if we're being honest with ourselves, we have always had a two-tier healthcare system. Apps like Maple exist. You can see a doctor for $200 right now on your phone, right? You can pay $5,000 in Toronto and have access to an executive clinic. We've had this for a long time. We're just formally implementing it provincially, and it is absolutely destroying our healthcare system, and it's making it so that if you need an assessment, you're waiting for a really long time. If you're in crisis, you're going to an under-resourced, underfunded healthcare center, and often seeing a burnt-out physician who's not necessarily equipped to help you. I'm going to treat that as my timer. Thank you.
Under the Liberal government, we will include the cutting barriers for healthcare professionals. There is a deep, deep need, greater than we currently can treat. I have 3 young children. It's extremely near and dear to my heart that what you guys are facing is what my children will also be facing. So I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make things better for you and for my children. My husband is a Peterborough paramedic. He sees it every day. I am shocked and horrified by the things that he is seeing and experiencing. There is not enough access at all, and we are committed to working with the Ontario government to have pharmacare be accepted in this province as well.
All right, so my next question comes from somebody in the audience here. And Heather, you're going to be the first one to answer this. What is your number one priority to bring to Ottawa that will help the Peterborough area?
Great question. I am going to be a great constituent representative. The priority that I'm going to bring to Ottawa is the priority that you bring me. Right now, what you are telling me is its affordability. That's the number one thing that I'm being told when I'm knocking on doors, when I'm going to events, when I'm listening to people. They're struggling to pay their bills. Something I learned in environmental resource management is this concept of, we can't help the environment. We can't pay for things that help the environment until we have our own economy settled. We need to have money for ourselves before we can think of the environment. We think of ourselves first, our shelter, our food, our clothes, and only then, once we're fully okay and safe, do we think about the next step. Well, I think that's the same for a lot of things. We need to take care of ourselves first before we can get involved in politics. We gotta take care of ourselves first before we can start working. We gotta take care of ourselves first before we can do so many things. And so what I wanna do, my goal, is to make sure that I'm a voice in Ottawa, to make sure that Peterborough is always top of that priority pile. Because we need to be. We deserve it. We have not been getting the resources that we need, and it's time for that to change.
Oh my goodness, just to pick one thing, I have two. So I'm going to give you two, but I'm going to do them fast. Number one is electoral reform. First past the post is just not working. Yeah, it's time. I think it's time. We need to move away from the two-party system we have been stuck in. But the other thing that I cannot not say, and I'm so sorry, is that we need tax reform. Right? We're paying a lot of taxes. We're not seeing a lot of returns. We don't feel like there's a lot of accountability for where our taxes are being spent. And because our electoral system is so broken, there's not really anything we can do about it. Who's in office is who's in office. We feel very disconnected and disenchanted from our political representatives. Right? You want something to happen. We don't see those things happening. Things are getting steadily worse. So we need to make a big change. If you want to change, which I'm sure every single person in this room wants some kind of big change, you have to vote for it, right? We're just voting for more of the same. So yeah, electoral reform, tax reform. Thank you.
When I'm knocking on doors, the number one thing I hear as well is affordability. And so I want to make sure that the policies that are being put in place are upheld. We need deeply affordable housing in Peterborough for students, seniors, and for our most vulnerable. And what I hear from the most vulnerable is that we also need to include wraparound supports. So it's not just enough to build houses. We need to make sure those houses are appropriate for the people who will be living in them, whether that is creating more space for their wheelchairs or needing help with PSW. So we've made lots of promises, and as your representative, I would make sure that we uphold those promises for the people who elect me.
There's nothing more humbling than walking up to someone's door, knocking on their door, going to the people and saying what matters to you. And clearly by this room, you are a reflection of what we're seeing at the doors. And it is fatigue, it is anxiety, it is mistrust, and it is overwhelm. And the biggest thing that links all of that is a lack of leadership. We do not have a prime minister who has united us. We have a prime minister who's divided us. And we have to restore hope, unity, and trust. And so the two things that go with that are accountability. Accountability. There are rules for thee, but not for me. Today, the Conservatives announced another policy. We've announced 20 policies since the election was called. And right now, we were debating in the House of Commons for months before it was prorogued. A $400 million green slush fund. Money that just went nowhere. Didn't help the environment, didn't do anything. And yet, if you don't pay your CRA bill, they're knocking on your door. So we will implement an accountability bill that will ensure people are not using offshore bank accounts to escape taxes and pay them, or restore accountability, which will ultimately restore affordability. Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right. And if at any time somebody wants to jump in with any rebuttals, we haven't had too much back and forth, but you're open to it. Just let me know. This next question was submitted ahead of time, and it's from a local farmer. And Jasmine, you're going to be the first one to answer this one. As a farmer, I understand the importance of addressing climate change, but I'm also deeply concerned about the practical implications of achieving net zero, especially in the agricultural sector. How do you, as a candidate, foresee the impact of net zero policies on Canadian farmers? And what specific measures will you put in place to ensure that farmers are supported in the transition without sacrificing food production or livelihoods? Again, a long question. Feel free to ask me to repeat anytime.
No, I appreciate that question. I'm not a farmer, but my partner is the director of the Trent Vegetable Farms, and I'm deeply committed to food sovereignty and secure food systems and sustainable circular economy within food systems. And so I think that when we're moving towards trying to achieve net zero, which obviously the Green Party is, that tax reform is going to go a long way to putting monies back into the pockets of farmers, and to have radical economic support for farmers doing the work to feed us all.
I can appreciate this question pretty deeply. It's a huge risk as farmers who have been growing in the way that they have for a very long time. So under the Liberal government, we have the Agri-Stability Plan, which is going to be increased due to the threats from the United States and the ongoing tariffs, to increase that plan from $3 to $6 billion for farmers that have crop loss due to climate change, as well as other failures. As well, we need to collaborate with farmers and to hear and speak with the people with lived experience and who know their land best.
Thank you, Joel. So there's different types of farmers, obviously, and some are running at a bigger scale than others are running at a hobby level. But obviously cutting the industrial and all carbon tax, and I think this is the Conservatives were the only party that stood up and said the carbon tax is driving up the cost of everything. And I remember standing at Brian Hawes' farm, and he said, Michelle, it's destroying us. We can't sustain this any longer. You can't tax the farmer. Farmers don't get to increase their prices. And then that gets downloaded to the truck or to the consumer. So we have to cut all of the taxes. I think about something like CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and the red tape and the nonsense and the punishment that farmers are faced with by just trying to feed people. It's, 2% of the population feeds the entire population, and they are punished repeatedly with bureaucratic tape. It's the same in every category. It's the same problem across the board. It's red tape. It's, you got to fill out this form to do this form, and then you're punished, and then we're going to tax a tax on a tax. And so I think, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And farmers were punished, and we're done doing that. So we're going to cut the carbon tax on all levels. Thanks.
As you know, I'm a farmer. 2016, we had a huge drought. It was the first time in my grandfather's memory, for over 100 years, that our swamp went dry. It's the first time we had to bring in water to water our cattle. We've had to do it every single year since. Climate change is real, climate change is happening, and it is impacting agriculture as a business and as a product, as an ability to feed ourselves. Research is showing that the nutrition within the food that we're producing is on a decline. If farmers don't take net zero seriously and try their best, and that's all we're asking, they're going to get left behind because climate change isn't going anywhere. It's quickly coming at us with a speed we've never seen before. And while the tariff conversations can hold and wait, and we can put 30-day freezes on them, we can't do that with climate change. But I think there's incentives. I think we've seen agriculture come, from the Green Revolution into this huge new wave where soil health matters, where we know that feeding nutrition to our soil helps, where we know that animals are important as a part of a regenerative cycle. And so I think through the right incentives and through policies that don't treat farmers all as one and the same, we can get there.
Michelle, yeah.
Just both to the NDP and Liberals, if they want to answer this, do you not think that the carbon tax created excessive strain on farmers?
Right, so I've got a question for each of you. Heather, if you want to go first.
Did the carbon tax put excessive strain on farmers? It depends on which farmer you talk to. Depends on what kind of agriculture they do. It depends on what kind of field rotations they do. Are they no-till? Are they a huge crop farmer? Are they a small hobby farm? It really depends, because a farmer isn't a farmer isn't a farmer, and we have to stop treating our farmers like we're all the same. We need separate policies to treat separate types of farm entities. We're not all corporate.
You're at time. Thanks so much. Emma.
Because the time is short, I agree with Heather, with everything she said, because farmers are farmers, we're all different. But we do need to have in place plans for farmers to be supported and take initiative to take small plots of land to do and work towards new initiatives like rotational grazing, no-till, and so the risk is removed from their pocketbook.
All right, we're going to move on. So this question also touches on climate change, but I really like it because it's very timely. It's one that's come in from the community. And Emma, you're going to be first to answer this. In light of recent extreme weather events, and I know my power was out for 6 days, such as ice storms affecting our region, what specific policies or initiatives do you propose to enhance emergency preparedness and assist communities in adapting to the impacts of climate change? Emma, you're first.
As we're seeing, climate change is increasing the rapid rate in which we are seeing things like ice storms and droughts. So I will speak to our farm policies because that is something that I know quite well. We are committed to, again, with ag stability, ag innovation, to work towards helping mitigate these risks, and I think the Liberal government and the Carney government is working towards mitigation. It's not so much as we do need to respond, and we need to have those funds in place to protect people and protect people when they need to rebuild after these incidences, but we need to work very, very, very hard at mitigating these issues.
Thanks so much. Michelle.
Thank you. Well, how many people had to use a generator? What do you need to put in your generator? Gas, fuel. How are you going to get that if you have a Liberal government that says we're not going to invest in gas? You can't pay for the things that need to be paid for in this country if you don't build our resources. We need gas. We need LNG. And to say that it is dirty or that it is going to let the planet burn, it's insanity. Anybody who has to live off a generator for more than 24 hours understands this. The lineups at the pumps were around the building. You have to invest in our resources. You can't leave them where they are. We can't be dependent on other countries. The other thing on a local level, this wouldn't be as much federal, but when I phoned the minister when the emergency was declared, you know, he said, Michelle, if it reaches the threshold and the province needs help, they call in the army. We need to invest in our national defense, big time. We have not hit our target. We need to invest in our national defense, and we will. We've committed to the 2% plus as well as a base. But we need to also do checking on our neighbors, which is a whole other thing. It's not a federal policy, but a municipal level that I'd like to talk to our mayors about of how we make sure people are safe. Thank you.
I read a great article in Kawarthas Now this morning about the ice storm and how our community came together to support each other, and it was such a lovely piece to read. And I saw that throughout the ice storm, and I've seen that before. Peterborough has a lot of heart. I think we all want the same thing. We all want people to be okay. We want to thrive ourselves, we want our neighbors and our friends and everyone down the road to also be okay. What I noticed through the ice storm is that not all of us were okay. Some of us were privileged. We had wood stoves to go to and we had generators that we could hook up. Some of our friends and neighbors were not so lucky. Some of them spent their last $10 the day before on rent and didn't have anything in their emergency fund. So again, this brings me back to affordability. I think what the ice storm showed us is that our number one resource are our workers. Those linemen who were out in the ice storm getting our power back, they deserve, huge round of applause for them. And all of our emergency services professionals, everyone who's our essential workers who are out getting to work, getting things done. Is it fair that they can't pay for their groceries? Is it fair that they're struggling to pay for their mortgage? We need to double the ODSP so people that don't have enough money can actually have an emergency fund, because right now they can't.
I would like to see a show of hands, if you feel comfortable, during the ice storm, who had a roof over their head? Truly, who had a roof over their head? Yeah. We all had the privilege last night of being invited to sit in community and to learn for folks that are unhoused in Peterborough. They did not have a roof over their head. And some of the stories that we heard were very upsetting. Certainly it's not news to any of us. But we're talking about policies and initiatives for communities. We're talking about checking on our neighbors. And I think we need to deal with the definitional dilemma of who is your neighbor, right? So yes, we have policies and initiatives, but we also need to be focusing on strengthening community resources, accessible spaces, gathering places, and compassionate areas for our neighbors and for each other, because this isn't going anywhere. The Green Party is not just looking at Band-Aid solutions. We are looking to halt, if possible, climate change. Something more radical needs to happen than anything that is being proposed. And it's time to put our money where our mouth is. It's time to vote for it, because we're coming up against something that none of us really know how to deal with on our own. Thank you.
Emma.
I just wanted to make it very clear that the Carney government is committed to a trade corridor and the investment in a trade corridor, energy corridor, my apologies, and that after meeting with Minister Bill Blair today, that Pierre Poilievre has in fact voted against increasing funding for our military, and that our commitment as Liberal government will not be that. We will be reaching our 2% NATO target.
Thanks so much.
How long's my rebuttal? 15 seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so two questions. If you're going to build an energy corridor, why haven't you? What are you going to do about Bill C-69? And yeah, those would be the two questions I would ask.
Yes, absolutely.
building an energy corridor, we need to have consultations. We can't just build a pipeline. My dad worked in the pipeline for a long time. There are many moving parts to how a pipeline is erected, and we need consultation with environmental services and many others before we can just, put a pipeline across people's land who don't want it.
All right, thanks. Yep. Jasmine, if you could stand up.
I have a question for both the Liberal and the Conservative candidates. And feel free to answer as I ask. Are you committed to enacting the truth and the calls to action for truth and reconciliation?
All right, Michelle.
Yes, I've done a lot of work actually with the NDP on this, and we've done a lot of work under Constitution 35. It's really interesting because a lot of the energy, many First Nations actually want that, but they weren't consulted, and that's the issue. So if it's all about us, if it's for us, about us, for us, nothing about us without us. That's the saying that the Liberals said. But First Nations weren't consulted. And so that's what I would say. You need to ensure that you consult even the ones who want it. So yes, and also a ton of work on Red Dress Alert as well, and murdered and missing Indigenous women.
Thank you.
We certainly are, and the talk of the Ring of Fire it speaks to that. It needs to be a conversation and not just a decision made by the government. It does not belong to us. It belongs to the Indigenous people, and so. Oh, okay. So, thank you. So it's a really easy thing to throw around, but that's just not how it works. If we are committed to the path of reconciliation.
Yeah, one thing.
Let's have some good conversation.
Call to action number 51. No more man camps. No more pipelines. No more pipelines. No more fracking. No more bitumen mining. No more man camps. Indigenous women and girls are 4 times more likely to be murdered than non-Indigenous women and girls. 4 times more likely. No more man camps. No pipelines.
Thanks so much. I'm going to move on to another question here from the audience. Michelle, you're going to be up first on this one. With changes in pressure in the United States, many newcomers and refugees are feeling fear and pressure of a lack of support from the USA. How does Peterborough plan to support relationships with global partners and refugees wanting to go to a safe home? Michelle, you're up first.
Thank you for the question, Joel. Again, I think obviously Peterborough is a pretty great community. Everybody in here knows that. We have an incredible new Canadian Centre that's pretty remarkable, that helps a lot of people. I think the elephant in the room is, folks, we need to have a working relationship with our American neighbors. That's a fact, and we have to get back to a place where we can restore that relationship. Yes, we have to stand up for ourselves, and we will stand up for ourselves, and I think every candidate up here, there's a unity in that. But I think if we don't restore that relationship, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for our American friends, and it's not good for us. And that's what's lacked in this country ever since this happened. Nobody has even had this relationship restored. And so there's been no negotiation, there's been none of that, and I think that will ease the uncertainty that's been talked about. But you need a good prime minister to do that. So.
All right. Heather, you're up.
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry?
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. With changes and pressure in the United States, many newcomers and refugees are feeling fear and pressure of a lack of support from the USA. How does Peterborough plan to support relationships with global partners and refugees wanting to go to a safe home?
I think that really comes down to collaboration and working together, and making sure that voices that are feeling disempowered are brought forward in those conversations. So it's not us telling people what they need, but them telling us what they need and us doing it, as they say. That's really how a collaboration can work. It shouldn't be one-sided. It should be very reciprocal. And I feel like, again, it comes down to we need to make sure we have safe, like literally safe places for people to go. We need housing. We need to collaborate and work with not-for-profits. Michelle mentioned New Canadian Centre, a great organization that has a great program called BITS that's teaching newcomers trade skills so that they can then help build houses as well. So, and I think we also need to have conversations and destigma certain ways of living. We need to decrease racism in this country, in this community. And we need to make sure that we're coming together and calling each other out, or calling each other in, as I like to call it, when those things happen, so that we're giving a network of social support as much as we're giving a network of physical roof housing support.
Thank you very much. It's Jasmine.
So I think it's well past time to remove punitive and racist immigration policies, to create new pathways to citizenship, and to, with everything we have, resist the xenophobic, right-wing populist rhetoric that's permeated the United States and that is polluting Canada. We are a country built on settlement. We are built on immigration. Who's allowed to come here? Is it up to us to say, no, not you? Of course not, but we're doing that, and our policies reflect that, and it's time to make some changes there.
All right, thank you. Emma.
I was very fortunate this week to sit down with the Indo-Canadian group and have lunch. They invited me to meet with them. It started at a grassroots level from Kent's Variety. His parents would help new Indian immigrants in Peterborough, and he was the base level of support for housing and community support. We need to listen, sit and listen to the people with lived experience, and again, to Heather's point, to listen and not tell them what they need, but listen to what they need. And that is the role of an MP, is to listen to the people who you work for, which is the constituents. So we need to sit and listen and be able to go advocate for those needs of our new immigrant population.
All right, thank you. Oh wait, did you open that one? No, sorry, I mixed it up in my notes here. We are coming up on time, so we're going to go into our closing statements. Then I've got a couple announcements at the end to wrap things up. And we're going to go in reverse order of how we started. So Jasmine, you've got 2 minutes to sum things up, and there's no rebuttals on this. Try and, yeah, anyway.
You must be tired of hearing me speak tonight. I'm not going to talk about myself anymore. This is not about me. It's not about any of us, despite what some of us may say. It's about you. It's about us. It's about our communities. When I go door to door, the thing that I'm hearing pretty much exclusively is that people are profoundly politically disenchanted. And I don't think that those are the people in this room today. You've all come here, regardless of how you feel, to listen to us talk. A lot of people don't feel informed about politics. And that's not because they don't care. It's not that they don't watch the news. It's not that they don't read news articles. They do not believe what we're telling them. They don't believe that we're going to do what we say we're going to do, because we don't do what we say we're going to do for a very long time. Of course, half of the people that can vote show up to the polls. That's logical at this point. We don't trust our representatives anymore. We don't know if people are going to do what they say they're going to do. So if you want change, it's the time. We can't be moving in fear. We're not going to run from the states. We're not going to run from environmental change, degradation. And we're not going to run from making brave choices. So I'm going to encourage you all to vote bravely, vote for the change that you want to see. Don't worry about a wasted vote. And please talk to the people around you. who don't want to talk about politics. Talk to the people around you in open and curious and welcoming ways so that they feel comfortable asking you questions, and encourage them to seek out new information for themselves. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Heather.
Something I really wanted to make sure that we talked about tonight is that public infrastructure is really good for business. And I'll tell you why. It's important for people to be able to show up for work, right? If you hire somebody, you want them to be reliable, you want to have the right people in the right places, and you want to make sure that they're there working, being productive, adding to your business. You know what helps them do that? Having a family doctor, so they're not sick. You know what else helps them get there? Public transportation. You know what would be great? Is if I could not have to drive from Warsaw, but could hop on a bus. Or if I could park somewhere really close to the bus and still hop on. I could get to work that way. It's really good for business when we have a strong, vibrant, healthy community. When people can afford their lunch and aren't trying to get through the day off one meal. It's really hard to be productive when you're hungry. It's really hard to be productive when you're hungry in school, trying to learn. That's why the NDP advocated for a national food program. And what I want you to think about is when it comes to voting at the polls, what's important is that you vote with your heart, and that you vote for your community, and you vote for the person that you think is going to represent your community the best in Ottawa. That's what you have to do. So please do that. Don't worry about what's happening at the national and international level. Think about your community at home, the people you want to help and how you want to help them. And think about choosing NDP to make that hope and that help happen. Thank you.
Yesterday, I visited Fleming students who are graduating from the Police Foundations course. There's about 50 students in the lecture hall, and I asked them 3 questions. The first question I asked them was, how many of you live with your parents? About 50% of them raised their hand, some of them obviously from out of town, so they live in residence. Then I asked them, how many of you want to live with your parents? 1 person raised their hand. And then I said, how many of you believe you will ever own a home? And 4 of them raised their hand. The visual was shocking, and it was heartbreaking. And I look at you, LCS students up there, and I think, isn't it our job to make life better for the next generation? The Conservatives have common sense policies that will restore the dream of hard work. That hard work gets you a home in a safe neighborhood. So here are some of our policies. We will cut income tax by 15%. We will invest in the trades to get our resources and houses built. We will cut the GST on new homes. We will end the capital gains when you invest in Canada. We will cut red tape and speed up permitting to get shovels in the ground. Every threat has a silver lining, and the silver lining of these unjustified tariff threats is that we should have built what we had and what the world needs, because we can. When Japan and Germany asked for LNG and Justin Trudeau said there's no business case for it, shame on him. We could have been flourishing. We have everything the world needs. We just need a prime minister who's brave enough to unleash it. I'm Michelle Ferreri, your Conservative candidate, and I'm asking you to ask one question before you vote on April 28th. What has gotten better in the last 10 years? Vote for me. Put Peterborough and Canada first for a change. Thank you.
I'm here tonight because I am afraid for the future of my children, of your children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews. I could go on and on. We do need a strong leader, a person of integrity and experience, and that is all of the things that Mark Carney brings to the table. I hope to be the person who will sit down and listen to you, listen to your concerns, and meet with the most vulnerable of our community and advocate for you, because that is the job. The job is to work for you, to work for the things you like to see, and to have a leader that we are able to work with and who understands the threats and concerns and problems that we're facing. So thank you very much for having me on April 28th. Please vote. And if you feel so inclined, I'm with the Liberal Party. My name is Emma Harrison.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate our candidates for coming here tonight and spending an hour and a half being very uncomfortable in front of everybody. I know it's not an easy ask, and I appreciate you making the time for this tonight. Thank you everyone for coming. This full house is so encouraging. Democracy thrives when people are engaged in the process. I want to thank our partners here tonight, Peterborough and the Kawarthas Home Builders Association, Central Lakes Association of Realtors, Peterborough and District Construction Association, and ourselves here at the Chamber of Commerce, my colleagues who all helped pull this together. Lakefield College School for hosting us here. I know that people are very interested. There's a lot of questions. I had so many come in ahead of time. There are stacks of them here tonight. All of these candidates, they have campaign staff, they have websites, they have ways to get a hold of them, and even better, next Tuesday in Peterborough, we have another open house, and we're getting you all back again. This one's a meet and greet, so it's a little less formal. They're going to have 3 minutes each to give an introduction to themselves, but otherwise, it's just sort of a mingle at the Holiday Inn in downtown Peterborough. So that's Tuesday the 15th from 9 till 10 a.m. Please come out and join us. And we have a lot of young people here today, potential new voters, and I really encourage everyone to go out and vote. Remember, if you are a new voter, you don't need to be registered ahead of time. Go to elections.ca, and there's information on what ID you need to bring. I believe your polling station might be the community center here, but you can double check on the website. And love to see young people out engaging in this process. And everyone, please go and vote on April 28th. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.